first you thought it was the shoe, but no. I'm almost entirely clueless. It's okay, Cabo. I mean, if you've got hunches, feel free to drop them out. I do prefer to try to figure it out myself, but if I do take a while, I don't mind if people who don't know the solution give clues. I don't want you to give me hints to the solution if you know it, but I don't mind if you don't know it and you want to try helping me. That's brilliant, you know. I mean, let's just try the bloody badger. This is the points in the game where it... Yeah, that's probably not it. What about that piece of plywood? This is the point in the game where Phoenix has to just guess, and there's no logical track that we as the player can follow, right? The wall to the right of the left of the locker you're looking at, is that a reflection? It looks like a hatch. What if there's a way to open it from the side? Wall right to the left locker. I don't think there's a hatch there, no. There's panels and stuff sitting up on the top. They're like pieces of plywood, but there's no other way in and out. It's just the main door. The Blue Badger, the mascot for the police force, defender of truth and guardian of proof. So apparently it is the Blue Badger. This is just so left field. The white square on the wall. Oh, it's like a poster. It's a poster, I think. Or a sign of some kind. Yeah. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here, so watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well, what? That's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place the handprint at this spot in the locker. Ah, I see where he's going. Right. He's saying because the Blue Badger was there, nobody would have put a hand on the locker during this incident, which means it was there before. Because, yes, Meekins said he put the Blue Badger there later in the earlier in the day, and he was just coming back to take it back out. Now everyone was finished stampeding around the place because he didn't want it to get broken again. You have no idea, but you're enjoying yourself? Excellent. So, so that means, just what exactly does that mean? It means it can't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker. Don't look at me, I didn't put it there. Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically. Email. On that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would have been impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So that must mean this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in. Yes. Just one moment, I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my court. That's it, yeah, how did Meek not notice the handprint as well? He would have put it there, he should have seen it. That's really weird. But then again, he's not all there. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honour, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape taken by the security camera. This was at 5:15. Officer Meekins cut his hand from which a trivial amount of blood would fall. The problem is the other time. No, we haven't found anything out about that, but I think that's just there because it's when they were painting it and they got their hands, like, you know, messy and so on, and a handprint ended up on it. So it was focused on Goodman. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. Oh, shut up, Edgeworth. The murder portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be a fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. I object to your objections. So then, assuming this murder you purport really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves when it occurred. When did the first incident occur? To summarise the defence's claim that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was posing as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in the evidence room. That's right. Blood mark on the locker proves this. Very well. Tell us then. When did the first incident occur? As Mr. Edgeworth said, proof must be presented. Proof that shows when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that. Will the defense please present the evidence? The all sevens? Possibly. I'm thinking also the autopsy report says an hour and a half of 4 PM. But see here, the all sevens is 4:20. But it does kind of line up, and then Edgeworth apparently went in at 4:40. Which is interesting. That would give whoever... I think the murder happened at the all sevens. Here's what I think is... I'm going to make an early prediction. Based purely on nothing but a hypothesis. I think that the 7-7s is Gant. I think he and Goodman went to the evidence room and something happened that caused a disagreement between them and Gant stabbed him. I think maybe Goodman found something out and wanted to reopen the case and Gant wanted to let it go. And he stabbed him. He then cleaned up the evidence and got rid of the body somehow. After all, we know that Marshall, Jake Marshall, abandons his post on a regular basis. And then, while Edgeworth was getting evidence to bring back, I think they stuffed the body in the trunk. Edgeworth would have noticed. He possibly would, but there's a 20-minute gap. So, time to clean up, basically. That's what I think, but I don't know if this is something we should present to show when it first took place. But then again, it is a list of timestamps. Let's try it. We've still got a couple of tries left. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the killer would have had to enter it, and in order to do so, an ID card would have been required. An ID card? Oh, the ID card record. Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger panel into the evidence room at, let's see here, that was 4:50. If the crime took place before that time, it would be 4:40 PM. Ah! Or 4:20. Miles Edgeworth! Just what have you done? Never would have figured you'd had the nerve, boy. Drop the act, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure it out. It couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid I don't understand either. What if Gant was wearing the other rubber glove, which is why there was no prints? Yeah, I mean, the whole reason why... I mean, here's the thing, right? The whole murder that's supposed to have happened, it started with everybody thinking Bruce Goodman was stabbed in the parking lot at the prosecutor's office by Lana Skye. We had a photo of her stabbing him, but then this photo was taken afterwards. And she's wearing gloves. They said this shows premeditation, that's why there were no prints on the knife and all that kind of stuff. But they were also doing evidence clear-out day. You don't handle evidence from a crime, solved or not, without wearing rubber gloves. So whoever was in there would have been wearing rubber gloves because they came to clear evidence out, hence no fingerprint. Not necessarily premeditation to avoid, you know, any and all, any and all evidence being left behind fingerprints. Just because they were doing what they were doing that day. They were all wearing gloves. They were handling evidence. It's clear from the luminal testing fluid that was there, however, that the second crime took place. Oh right, that's why no print was seen, by the way, guys. The bloody handprint it's not just there on the locker. We only found it because we used fluid that detected traces of blood. It had been wiped off. That's a good point, I forgot about that. The handprint wasn't just there. So yeah, Meekins wouldn't have seen it either. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. It would have just 10 minutes... he would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim and carry his body away. And clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible. Yeah, it's impossible to do it in 10 minutes. If he'd have killed him and then tried to clean everything up, one guy on his own, 10 minutes, no chance. But from 4:20 to 4:40, that's twice the time. That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room. Let's look at the chart again. There's only one other card. It's like 7 sevens. Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Detective Goodman have entered the evidence room? Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer, which is what I said earlier. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with the 7 sevens. Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. I will find out whose ID number is 7777777. That's 1 7 too many, Your Honour. I said it correct. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of the ID card, at least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number 77 belongs to somebody with a rank of captain or higher, someone who is a so-called executive officer, like a chief. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous. Just how? I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There's one situation which can only be guaranteed such authority. If an official charge filed against an executive is accepted. An official charge? You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask a question. Yes? No, not to you. To her, the defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course we've looked up her ID number. And it's not all 7s. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident. The SL9 incident? Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence? Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least I did. Lana? I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime within the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant, just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say that you did? Drama! Chief Prosecutor, you didn't. I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Oh! Why won't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to in order to, for him to get the verdict he deserved. But Lana, even if it involved forging evidence. Insert heartbeat sounds. See, that's what I'm talking about. No! No!
Ooh, you suck! Burn the system down!
Lana's remarks caused such a stir the chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. We'd have to wait until the following day. Damn, that bought us a day, just... Nice. The last day of the trial. Save my progress till now? Yes, I think we will. Before I do though, guys, we ran like a whole hour over our usual break time, so I'm going to take a break now. You don't understand the bit with the puppet and the blood hand stain. Right, Luigi, so what that proved was that Officer Meekins went into the evidence room, left that puppet bit, like left the dancing mascot there, right up against the locker, and then when he left it there, supposedly an assault took place that they were all saying was a murder. Turns out it's not. We've just proven it's not. We've now shown that the bloody handprints on both lockers have nothing to do with that assault, because no handprint could have been left on that other locker that this mannequin was covering. That makes sense, which means it must have been there before, and then was wiped off. Yuri, hello, how are you? Objection, just kidding. How are you doing, mate? I'm doing good, thank you very much. How are you? This case is really stretching our brains. So yeah, that's what we had to prove, was that that handprint is related to an incident, because we just threw the wild theory out that Goodman was killed in that evidence locker all along, not in the parking garage. That's key to proving that Lana didn't do it, because the witness says she saw her stabbing him in the parking lot, but I think what she saw was her taking the knife out of his chest, not stabbing into him. So yeah, there we go. And we've got to prove that now. That has given us a tentative lead to say, yes, it's relevant because that handprint had to be there before. So yeah. As well as the huge pool of blood that couldn't possibly have been from Meekin's hand. I don't know why that wasn't relevant enough. That and the shoe could have been connected together and said, well, remember the shoe? This belongs here because this is where it got all that blood, not from the car park. Don't ever take the knife out unless there was first CPR. Yeah, that's true, actually, but the guy was already dead. I think she may have taken the knife out just in shock and surprise. Not sure exactly why she does that yet. And then he wouldn't mind the knife. I mean, you know, she was in shock. She just found the dead body in the trunk of a car. So, oh my god, pull the knife out is, you know, a shock reaction, right? She's guilty of tampering with evidence. That's true as well. She should have actually left it all alone and gone and called security instead of trying to drag the guy out, you know, and pull the knife out of his chest. But anyway, we don't know what that's still a bit of a weird hole in the story, which hopefully will get covered. I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. I'm sorry for what my sister said. So drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to in order for him to go get the verdict he deserved. How did he get into the car? That's the thing we need to figure out still. He had to be taken from the evidence room and stuffed into Miles Edgeworth's trunk, which is very weird, especially given the fact that if the guy with all sevens killed him, like on the record of entry, if he's the one who killed him, 20 minutes later, Edgeworth showed up. Did he help? Or didn't he? That's something we don't know about. Are we stuck with the incompetent judge? Oh yeah, it's still Santa. It is. I didn't know. I never knew that the SL9 incident was just another name for the Joe Dart killings. Sounds like everyone's heard of these killings but me. Lana wanted Dart convicted so badly, that's why she used me. That's why she used what happened to me. What? What do you mean what happened to you? It's all there in the file. Joe Dark's last victim was Prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence. What did you have to do with the killing, Zima? On the night Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered, Joe Dark tried to kill me. What? He tried to kill you? Officer Marshall's brother, Neil, was only trying to save me. Oh. That's it. At least we have one very dedicated attorney. Exactly. So that means you. Yes, I was the witness in the Joe Dark trial. I didn't see that one coming. I only read it in the report earlier. I mean, oof. He's so surprised because we only looked at this like 5 minutes ago. And oh look, there it is, witness Ema Sky. He's not very observant. It happened 2 years ago. It was right about this time of year 2. There was a terrible thunderstorm that day, unusual for the season. I was alone in my sister's office. We were planning to eat dinner together once she finished her work. Then suddenly, this terrifying man came bursting into the office. Joe Dark. Seemed like he was running from someone. He pulled out a knife and screamed at me. I didn't know what was going on. Just then Prosecutor Marshall showed up. Jake Marshall's brother. Joe Dark tried to take me hostage. Before he could, Mr. Marshall tackled him. Then, what happened? I'll never forget it. Lightning struck and the lights went out suddenly. A bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting the office for an instant. What I saw then burned a permanent picture into my mind. I can still see it now. I don't remember the moment when Dark stabbed Mr. Marshall, so you weren't able to testify about that? No, I was only asked about it when I was attacked. That must be why Lana, or why she made up the crime. Made it up, you mean provided bogus evidence? The prosecutor's office wanted a guilty verdict so bad. Lana forged the evidence and Mr. Edgeworth used it. Edgeworth? Yes, but I'm sure he didn't know anything about it. He couldn't have known he was being given false evidence. Even so, that's when it all started. The rumours about Mr. Edgeworth, I mean. It's all my fault. If I could have just testified properly, none of this would have happened. So it's true, even though many not know it, Edgeworth really was involved in falsifying evidence. After that case ended, Lana was never the same. She became cold like she is today. She must not have been able to face up to what she did, especially not to Ema. So what's the permanent picture? What did you see in the instant the crime occurred? Dark knocked down Mr. Marshall and raised his knife. Neil Marshall was stabbed right in front of this poor girl. Why does the guy have a hairstyle like an onion, by the way? That's really weird. I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently I passed out. When I came to, Lana was cradling me in her arms. Poor Amy, you've been through so much. I couldn't bring myself to testify about that instant. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good. 2 years ago, you must have been 14, that's understandable. Once it was all over, I made up my mind. I decided that when I grew up, I'd become a scientific investigator. I wanted to be able to fight crime with my testimonies, and find evidence to make an airtight case. That way, Lana would never have to forge any. I see. I think I'm finally starting to understand what makes Ema tick. There's still something that bothers me about the crime. There's something that's been puzzling me, Ema. What is it? You said you were in Lana's office at the time, right? That's right. Why then would a serial killer come running in there? Not only that, but he was being chased by the prosecutor? Oh, there's no mystery there. Joe Dark had been taken in for questioning that day. Taken in for questioning, you mean by the police? Of course, this happened at the police department. Tried to run away halfway through the interview and fled into my sister's office. But why did he run all the way to your sister's office? Because the detective officers and the questioning rooms are all right across from the elevator. Across from the elevator? But Lana was the chief prosecutor, wasn't she? No, silly, didn't I tell you 2 years ago Lana was a detective? That was confusing me as well. I was like, hang on a minute though, it's 30 minutes away by car from the police station to the prosecutor's office. She's talking about the fact that Lana was a detective. So she rose to chief prosecutor? Literally within 2 years? She was the best in the entire force. Oh, that's news to me. After the Joe Dark case, she was transferred to the prosecutor's office and made chief prosecutor. So she used to be a detective. I'd have another talk with her. Do we want to talk to her about any of this stuff? It seems everything is somehow related to this incident. What was it labelled again? The SL9 incident? Yeah, the name of everyone connected to this trial is listed in here. All that's left is to figure out just what role everyone plays in this case. If we search hard enough, I think we can find our answers. What exactly did or didn't Lana do? I'm not sure I want to know everything. I don't think we need to talk to her about any of this stuff. She was present for all of it. Lana? Mr. Wright, it seems I keep causing you trouble. Falsifying evidence? I didn't think you were the type. Criminals don't mind playing foul, why should we? But Lana, you're wrong. An innocent person might be found guilty. Believe me, I understand the risks. Lana, Ema told me about you. Oh? About how you were a detective 2 years ago, and that the SL9 incident was the reason for your transfer to the prosecutor's office. That's right. You fill me in on the details, especially the unusual change of jobs. Because, yeah, she wasn't actually going to be on the case, was she? She's not listed in the people who were... actually, no, she was an executive, wasn't she? Yeah, she was listed. So she was still... She was actually working the case, look. Damon Gant and Lana Skye were the executives of the case, and the head investigator was Bruce Goodman. So Bruce Goodman reported to her. Okay. So he could have been running in there to stab her, just because she was one of the head investigators. I suppose you have a right to know, Mr. Wright. Exactly, it's my name. I have a right to know. A lot of revelations were uncovered at the trial today, not least of which was the fact that this case is largely connected to another one 2 years ago. Evidence from that case was stolen as well, though I expected as much. I know how obsessive Officer Marshall can be. That trial, it really wasn't fair, was it? I believed in you, Lana. I believed that no matter what happened, you'd always stick to the truth. It couldn't be helped, Ema. At that trial 2 years ago, I sold my soul. Well, all drama aside, the fact of the matter is, by 15, there was no murder at the police department. Exactly, how did he get a knife if he was being interviewed? Well, I mean, I don't really know, but maybe when you're being interviewed, unless you've been arrested first, I don't think they take any possessions off of you. So, yeah.